Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. Glad to have you here today. We'll be starting here in just a few minutes. If you're joining us for today's Hot Topics training webinar, you should be seeing the introduction screen on your screen right now. If not, feel free to drop your information down in the chat and we can help you with some technical difficulties. We'll be getting started here in just a second. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll give it just about 60 more seconds. We'll get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're excited to go over smart rules, smart events, custom objects, and the R1 release for Sage Intacct. All right, looks like the majority of people have joined, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to today's Top Topics training on custom objects, smart rules, and smart events for Sage Intacct users. I'm Nicole Brinson, Senior Marketing Manager at LBMC Technology Solutions, and I'll be your host and moderator today. Following the first training portion of today's webinar, we'll be going through the R1 release for 2023 of Sage Intacct. Thank you all for joining today. I have just a few housekeeping items to go over. One, all lines have been muted, so there won't be any background noise. We'll be taking questions throughout today's webinar, and please let us know if you have any questions, either by using the chat feature or dropping them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We encourage you to use the chat feature and the Q&A, as we have a large group of Sage Intacct users here today. There's about 160 of you. So if you have a question, there's likely someone on the webinar today who probably has the same question. So feel free to use those Q&A and chat features. This webinar is eligible for CPE. And in order to qualify for CPE credits, you must stay on the entire session and answer any polling questions when prompted. You'll need to complete the post-event survey as well. A link to the survey is included in the email that you just got about an hour ago. And you'll receive another email following this event that includes a link to the survey, the presentation slides from today, and a recording. Even if you aren't pursuing CPE, please make sure you fill out that survey. All survey entries will be entered into a raffle to receive a Solo Stove Mesa tabletop fire pit from today's webinar. Now we have a lot of new faces in the crowd today, so I just wanted to take a couple of seconds and tell you a little bit about LBMC Technology Solutions. As you know, we're your Intacct partner, and we are thrilled to be on this journey with you, but we do a lot of other things too. In fact, we like to say we are your team for everything you need for tech. From help desk and IT support to managed IT security, to CRM and financial applications, and everything in between, we can tackle any project that you've got that needs technology for your business. So if you think of something during today's webinar, drop us a note, either in the chat, the Q&A, or you can send an email to info@lbmctech.com. Now, without further ado, please help me welcome our presenter for today's Hot Topics webinar, Brent Lee. Brent is a Sage Intacct consultant with LBMC Technology Solutions and has been working with Sage Intacct for over 4 years. Prior to working with LBMC, Brent served as a controller and accounting director in the finance and insurance industries. So he knows those challenges that a lot of you financial executives in the audience today are facing. Brent earned his bachelor's from Michigan State University in finance and holds a master's of accounting from Mercer in Atlanta, Georgia. Brent, thank you and welcome for presenting today.
Thank you for that great introduction, Nicole. And thank you everybody for joining today as we go over hot topics and our R1 presentations. I know that these topics will help you to guide your business in a more efficient way while using Sage Intacct. And I hope that you gain a little bit from the topics that I'll be going over during this presentation. During this presentation, I will be off camera, just try to give yourself a guide on viewing these topics today. And I hope that everything will be guided to what your expectations are. So what we're going to do in the beginning is go over our objectives for this presentation. So the objectives that we have going forward will hopefully by the end of the session, you will be able to identify what are objects and its uses, what are custom fields and their use within Sage Intacct, help you to identify when to use smart rules versus smart events, also how to use data validation using smart rules, and the use of smart events to ease data validation. So the first thing I want to speak on is, what are objects? Well, objects are really anything within Sage Intacct that can use an existing data set that has a specific use within Sage Intacct. Some of these examples can be vendors, transaction definitions, users, journals, as well as AP bills, invoices, and almost any other thing that you can think of within Sage Intacct. One thing that Sage Intacct will be able to do is custom fields are able to be added to objects. You can use objects for smart rules, and also smart events can be updated to any object within Sage Intacct. To get a full list of any objects, that can be found in the platform services under all, under objects. Nicole mentioned where we will have polling questions throughout this presentation. Now I will give Nicole the first opportunity to give you the first polling question of today.
All right, they say the only thing that changes faster than technology might be Nashville's weather. Some of you all that are based here in the Southeast can probably agree. So we have people all over the country today. I'm curious, what's the weather like where you are? We have lots of people in the pleasant 50 to 75 degrees. That's nice. Practically summer, probably some of our Florida folks. All right. So it looks like the majority of our people are enjoying some pleasant weather at 50 and 75 degrees. I'm sorry for all those that are below 25, you probably in upper Northeast with some snow on the ground. So we would not be able to handle that here in Nashville. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, I am enjoying the practically summer weather where I am based right outside of Tampa. Originally, I'm from Michigan, so I've had my beings with snow and all of that aspect. So I hope everybody that's having this cold weather is bundled up and are comfortable. One of the first things that we're going to touch on throughout is, what are custom fields? Well, custom fields are objects that you create within Sage Intacct to track any additional information that are already not being utilized by your dimensions. Now, dimensions are things in Sage Intacct that separates Sage Intacct from any ERP system. That is things like departments, locations, items, class, and things of that nature. Intacct has numerous types of fields that can be used within custom fields. You can use things as pick list, types of text, any numeric data, and any text field that you might need. Intacct also gives you the ability to create custom fields on any screen inside the system. And when I say any screen, I mean any screen, any module, any AP, AR, and any general ledger as well. Custom fields can be found within your platform services under the All tab within the object customization. And you can see that here where you can find your custom fields within Sage Intacct. Now you may ask, why use custom fields? Well, custom fields has many uses within Sage Intacct. You can use it in a custom report. You can use it as my favorite aspect within financial reports to break down any dimensions or to get a more detailed view on any aspect that you would like. And you can use custom fields for reports like identifying customers in different industries, as I will show you in the following examples. And you can also use custom fields with the use of any smart rules or smart events. And this will help you to prevent any erroneous or any errors within any transactions that you are putting within Sage Intacct. Also, it gives you the power to give dimensions, more established detail. So you can have a roll up within your dimensions to roll up to any custom field that you would like. And I will also give you that example as we go along. Now you may wonder how to create custom fields. Well, it's an easy step process. Well, first you will select your path, which I've shown you within Platinum Services, custom fields, and then you will go ahead and add. You would choose your object to extend. Object, like I said, can be anything within Sage Intacct, as of things like invoices, AP bills, customer types, and different uses. You would choose your data type, which, like I said, can be things like a pick list or text. And then you would choose your field characteristics. And this is dependent on the object that you chose to extend. And then you would choose to deploy and save. Looking at different examples that we will have, and this example will use AP bills. So first, in step one, you would choose your object to extend. As in this example, we would be extending out the AP bill. You would choose your data type. In this area, we would use the text area, so you can be able to enter text within that field that you choose. Step three, you would choose your text area field characteristics, where you can give it a label, how many rows to display, and also your field ID and any description that you need. In step four, you can choose your deployment options. Now you can choose whether if this field is required, if it's hidden or inactive. And also you can choose where to show on the page. In the next example, we would use our AP bill. And as you can see, this is a regular AP bill module that you will use to input your AP bills. But as you can see on the bottom, we have this custom field area that you can use that we set up for this example. Now, one of the great things is how you can extend how dimensions are used. The way of extending how dimensions are used can be anything from going from a standard income statement to a profitability by region. Say you have different locations throughout your business, and you want that to roll up to a region, to say Southeast or Northwest. You can have that be a parent-child relationship where it rolls up to your region, and you can go by and reporting on that region as well. You can also set up different types of industries. Say if you have different business types within your company, you can set that up in things like industries that will let you report on the income within that industry. And you can do that just with a few clicks of your mouse. Say if you're a company that does conferences throughout the year, where you can set up different conferences and have those expenses and also those revenues go to each of those conferences so you can have a report that gives you the ROI. hopefully is positive. Also, if you have, as an example, a certain product line, you can set it up where you can have that product line be produce any type of delivery method or any type of ERP system, just so you can gauge the profitability without that ERP line. And you can set that up in any field that you will like. As an example, we set up different product lines in the customer information. So as you can see, when filling out this customer information, we created 2 custom fields, one for industry and one for ERP. And within that, you can choose a pick list to choose what type of customer fits into which industry, and also the type of ERP delivery that that customer has. So you can have a more detailed reporting on any of these aspects within those customer field information. Now we will go along to Nicole, which will give you the next polling question.
Okay, thanks, Brent. So as we mentioned at the beginning of today's webinar, this webinar will qualify for CPE credits. Not everyone's interested, but just curious for the people attending today, are CPE, being able to earn CPE of value to you? Is that what brought you here? Or is it just the fantastic content that you'll be going through today? We do offer these sessions quarterly. If this is one of your first times attending, we like to provide a training and a review of the release that just occurred with Sage Intacct. We'll do those each quarter. All right, it's about half and half. Maybe a little bit more leaning towards the benefits of earning CPE, about 60%. We'll give you just about 20 more seconds. Get those answers in. All right, pretty much a split of 60-40, 60% appreciate earning the CPE while receiving the great training. So thank you for the feedback. That's great to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, with using custom fields, one of the great things and one of the things that I am most excited about is how to use custom fields within your financials. Knowing that in the accounting world, financials is the bottom line. All of the transactions, all of the journal entries, every invoice, every PO is to gauge how that company is doing within the revenue balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow. So to get a more detailed look on how your financials are being broken down, you can use custom fields in a multitude of different ways to gauge how is your business positioned for present and for future profitability. One of the great things that you can do within custom fields is to use it within different dimensions. For the example, we will use customers for this example to show the wide range of uses within custom fields. Here we will see where you can choose a customer to group different lines of business or business segments to get a greater understanding of your revenue and how it translates to your bottom line. So within your reports, you can group these by a dimensional group. In this example, we will use customers. And within customers, you are able to set up, as I showed you within the previous, how you can have different types of custom fields as an industry, as an example. When you gauge up to your industry, you will be able to use custom fields in any financial report that you have your dimension structure as well. As you can see, once added to any dimension, you will be able to tailor your report to give you a more detailed view on any aspect of your business. This can be easily done by creating a dimension structure and setting up a hierarchy to reflect the information that you would like to be pulled. Within customers, we set up industries, and within those industries, we set up different types of line of business departments that you will have. So as you can see, you can build this in any report that you will like to create to give you a more in-depth reporting. So taking a look at this example, you have your customers, and with your in the dimension customers, you have your dimension structure, and within that structure, you have your industries. Gauging all of the revenue and all the expenses, you are able to create a report such as revenue service by industry. So you can use custom fields a multitude of ways. And this goes by showing you the revenue of services, not just broken down by your customer, but how the customer reflects within your different industries as well. So you can use this information to gauge any type of decisions that you will need to be made going forward within your business. One of the great things, other than custom fields, that Sage Intacct will allow you to do is to use what are called smart rules and smart events. And you might ask, what are smart rules and smart events? Well, smart rules and smart events are two aspects that will allow you to gauge a lot of different avenues to better give your company a more efficient way to create transactions. So within smart rules, you have your conditions, and these conditions will be used to generate a message. You can also use smart rules to give a warning to a user of any error and any action that needs to be stopped before proceeding. This can be like an example of if an employee creates a new AP vendor for a project, it may be prompted to use a department ID, or as an example, if a new customer is created with no contact added, it will be given a warning depending on the logic that you would use. It will still be allowed for that transaction to be made, but it just gives the user a thought to think twice to make sure that this is correct before submitting. Now, smart events are used when a condition is met and action can be made. Now, this can be something like sending an email to a related event when an event occurs. This smart event will be triggered an action if that condition is met. An example is if an email is to be sent to a CEO, if they want to know if an invoice is made into the system over a certain amount, that can be done. So when the invoice over a certain amount is created within Sage Intacct, that CEO will receive an email stating that this invoice over a certain amount has been put into the system. This helps because it gives the individual that is inputting that invoice into the system a peace of mind that they don't have to remember to send an email after every instance when this criteria is made. Also, you can post information to the HTTP site. Also, you can perform an AP call. This AP call can do things like enter an address. When you enter an address into, say, an AP module, that module can be triggered to put that address into a different module within Sage Intacct. Say something like purchasing. You can also write to an information log. Within all of these smart events, do know that email and the AP calls are what are mostly used within our clients within Sage Intacct. One thing that you may also know is what access is needed within Sage Intacct to use smart events and smart rules. Well, one thing is you must have a subscription to your core modules. Also, you must need your subscription within the web services and platform services as well within Sage Intacct. You will also need the needed permissions. and that will be a limited or a full admin within Sage Intacct. And you will also need at least a read-only permissions within company and also platform services. Now this leads us to our next polling question. Nicole?
Thanks, Brent. So as I mentioned a minute ago, we have a lot of new faces to this training today. That's great. Love to see our companies growing. Curious, how would you rate your familiarity with Sage Intacct and the topics that we're covering in today's webinar? You know, there's a wide range of users, skill levels, familiarity with our user base. So for future trainings and events, we'd love to be able to provide you some additional training if needed. Right now, we're coming in about 44% of you consider yourself novice users, about 45% intermediate, and we've got some power users at 11%. Great to have so many users on today. We'll leave the poll open for about 20 more seconds. You see some questions coming in the Q&A box. If you have any up that are at the top of your mind, go ahead and drop them in there now. All right, we'll end the poll. And we got about 43% of our users considered novice, about 47% consider themselves intermediate users, and coming in at 10% with those advanced users. Thanks all so much for that feedback.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, I know we had a few questions within the environment. One of the questions was, do you need any additional software to add custom fields? And no, you can use custom fields with the out-of-the-box Sage Intacct. So it's a very powerful feature that comes at no extra cost for you as well. Now we will go by setting up what are custom rules. And there are two types of custom rules. There are the regular type of custom rules and conditional smart rules. Smart rules can be a condition that if a rule is met, an error or a warning message is sent. An example of this would be if a credit card is created in a location, it must be attached and a vendor must be tagged as a 1099. If those conditions are not met, then the user will get an error message. Condition smart rules can be related to an if-then condition like in Excel. Whereas an example could be if a location is blank when a new credit card is entered, then an error message is created. Or if that location is filled, then that card can be approved. One of the examples that I will give you can be a smart rule that triggers an error. So going into those steps, one thing you would do for step one is choose the object to extend that error message to. So the owner object will be an AP bill. Next, you will set your rule properties. In this example, we will be able to trigger an error message when this field is not created correctly. You will give your event. Also, you will give your condition, and then you will be able to give an error message within that event if that event is not met. Next, you will be able to deploy an option. Say smart rule ID can be created. You can give a description and if the status is active. Now you can use the status to gauge the activity. If you want to make the status inactive at any time, you can use that. And if need be, at a future date, if you need that to be activated as well, you can put that status back to active. Within that smart rule, building off of that example from earlier in the AP bill, using this customer field, you can see that if this field is left blank, we have created that error message. And you can see that error message on the right side of your screen, stating that we have a smart rule in place to let you know that this custom text field must be entered into the screen. If you do not put that information within the screen, you will get this error message stating that this must be filled in, and then you will be able to proceed. So smart rules can give you a gamut of options out the box that will let you make sure that no erroneous information is put into the system, or just to give you a peace of mind to state that if there is information that is definitely required and you cannot put that into the regular requirements within the dimension, you can set up a smart rule that will allow you to get that information that is needed. So this gives you a gamut of ways that you can use your smart rules without the system, just to make sure that all information is captured for your future use within the Sage system. Now we will go ahead and go into our next polling question.
Thanks, Brent. With the rapid increase in cybersecurity threats and crimes, we at LBMC Technology Solutions, we're helping a lot of clients evaluate and enhance their cybersecurity posture. Is your organization leveraging any cybersecurity tools today? We see everything from just some out-of-the-box tools or whatever innate functionality to full IT security teams that are dedicated to maintaining a strong security posture. Where do you feel like your organization falls in that range? With the increase in BYOT and alternative applications people are using, all of those challenges come up on a daily basis. So we're hearing a lot of those questions. Right now, we've got about 18% are using some out-of-the-box security solutions. About 22% attendees today have different tools, but could use some more. About 60% have a very mature plan. It's great to hear. All right, we'll leave the poll open for about 20 more seconds. All right, thank you all so much. Coming in about 18% of our attendees today have some out-of-the-box security solutions, 22% using different tools and could use more, and coming at 60%, our clients having a strong security plan. That's great to hear. Great to hear. All right, thanks, Brent.
Thank you, Nicole. Now we will go through what are smart events. So smart events are anything that happens when the action is met. An action will be sent out and the condition rule will be sent to meet that action that can be executed. That can be anything as an email action. And within that email action, you will need to specify the email recipient and the email message content to be sent to that recipient. During the API call, you will need to specify the body of that API call, and you will need to fill out that argument that will need to be populated for that API call. To log any action, nothing needs to be done when going in this action, as the system will execute this automatically and log that action within the system. HTTP post action, you will need to specify the method and the argument, and this is especially useful for developers. One of the smart events that you can set up is for an email to be sent whenever a condition is met. And Within that, you will need to know that email option. So as well as within that smart rules that I went over with, we'll choose our AP bill. And within that AP bill, you can have the action of an email sent out to the parties that's needed. So you can see under step 2, that action will be to go out in the email when that event is added. When that event is added, you will need to set up certain properties with that email that will be alerted if that condition is met, as well as a subject line that will be included in the correspondence, as well as the text that will be in the body of the email, as well as you can see, we will attach a PDF to that information as well. As you can see in this example, when a vendor ID is created, then the email will be sent to alert this employee, in this example, myself, to review that vendor information. As you can see, when we set up our new vendor, in this example, Verizon, once that vendor is set up, then we will get an email message that will alert the user that you set up in the system that a new vendor has been created within that system. Also, what you will see is a PDF form showing that vendor information that can be sent to that end user. So these smart events can be used for a great range of information that can be sent and that can be alerted depending on any aspect and any module that is used within Sage Intacct. One thing that you do want to keep abreast of is how do you see what smart events are created? Well, one thing that you can do within those smart events is go to your smart events jobs within your company. And within that, you can see all smart events in that smart events jobs queue. This will allow you to show the status of the smart event, or if the event was created successfully, or if there were any errors during the creation of this smart event. Please make sure that you have the needed permissions to view this smart event jobs queue, and that can be found in the permissions under your user within your company module. If you need any other help within these smart events or smart rules, and you would like to get more information in more detail, there are plenty of aspects to go by within finding out more information. Sage Intacct has a breadth of different avenues to help you as the end user gauge how to use these smart events and how to set them up within different customizations that you may have. We have the Sage Intacct Help as well as Sage Intacct Developer that will let you more gauge on if this is something that you can use with your business as well. This concludes this hot topic for smart events, custom fields, and smart rules. Now we'll have a chance to gather ourselves and go into the next aspect of this presentation will be the R1 release.
All right, thanks, Brent. We'll go ahead and go into our next poll question number 5. And that is, today is March 1st, meaning we've got about 11 days, a little over a week until March Madness starts. So we know we've got some Spartan fans in the audience today, some Buckeye fans. Do you participate in any March Madness bracket challenges? Are you one watching the games each night? Usually I end up with a busted bracket personally, no matter which ones I choose, it seems like. All right, we got about 70% saying not really my thing. 30% of attendees today absolutely already putting the rec together. That's great. We'll leave the poll open for just a little bit longer. We do have some questions in the Q&A panel, so we'll go through those as well. Feel free to drop anything in there. All right, we'll end the poll. So it looks like we come in about 69%, not really your thing. Other remaining 31% putting your bracket together. Well, wishing you the best of luck for those that participate in a bracket challenge. I don't know, I'd love to hear from anyone who's successful in and has won a challenge. What's your method? Are you researching the teams? Do you go by your favorite jersey color? Is there rhyme or reason to it? Please share your knowledge. All right, we'll be moving on to the second part of our training, and that is the R1 release for 2023 for Sage Intacct.
Thank you, Nicole. Looking at some of the questions that were inputted for the custom fields and smart rules and smart events. One question was, how do you know the level of your
Go ahead.
Of your Sage subscription? You will need to contact your representative who sets up your sales within your Sage Intacct, and they will be able to give you your subscription. Also, do you need a web service license? Well, if you have a platform service license, that should work as well to give you access to that AP call. Also, can you have smart rules within your expense management or a third party? You can set up Sage Intacct to have smart rules within the smart rules system within Sage Intacct. Know that that will only work within the Sage Intacct module, and you will not be able to use that if you're within a different type of third party management as well. So as long as you're trying to get that smart rules or smart events to work within the Sage Intacct environment, that can be done using that within any integration that you have within Sage Intacct. So that are some great questions that has come in throughout the first part of the presentation. Okay. So now what we will do is go through the Sage 1 release for 2023 for the R1 release. And like any other release, Sage Intacct works to give you a lot of updates and add-ons that can make Sage Intacct more efficient. As time goes by, we know that technology moves at a lightning pace, and Sage Intacct does its best to keep up with your business needs. Any business has different aspects, so knowing that Sage Intacct is abreast of these needs and they are willing to make updates that the customer needs, it's a great aspect when you're dealing with Sage Intacct. Sage Intacct has 4 releases a year, and these releases come during each quarter. As you can see, this is the first release of 2023 that happened February 17th. Also, you will see the next releases for the upcoming year, with release 2 coming in May, release 3 in August, and release 4 coming in November. Now, going through the R1 changes for 2023, there has been upgrades and additions to a multitude of different modules within Sage Intacct. They were go from things as user interface to accounts payable, accounts receivable, all the way to project and grants, purchasing, taxes, and just great things as the user experience as well. And we will touch on all of these modules and give you a summary of all the updates and additions that were made to Sage Intacct that will allow you to use it in a more efficient way for your business needs. The first thing we will look at are user interface changes. The changes that were made for R1, our labels are now sentence case. Spelling and punctuations and grammar are now consistent and correct throughout the modules. Terminology and formatting are consistent. Some acronyms and abbreviations are now spelled out for clarity, and the use of symbols and punctuations are reduced for clarity. You will notice that the label changes on some pages will include titles, field labels, column headers, and other text that appear on things like lists, records, transactions, reports, and data components. Here we give examples on how the old labels were reflected within Sage Intacct and how the new labels are now currently to be seen within Sage Intacct. Please know that this is specifically for formatting and will have no impact on the actual data within your Sage Intacct environment. Within the company and administration field, Sage single entity environments are continuously being upgraded to multi-entity. This continued process is a phased upgrade of Sage Intacct for the companies to be guided over to a multi-entity framework within the top level. After this upgrade, you will be able to continue to operate as a single entity or expand your entity into a multi-entity with additions of more entities in your Sage Intacct environment. Multi-entity companies have a breadth of benefits. Some of these benefits will come with an additional fee. So make sure that you research those modules before any additions are being made. But within your multi-entity, some of the benefits are to add new entities as new businesses are acquired. You can manage inter-entity transactions. You can work with a different base currency per entity. You can also be used to automate any exchange rates within your entities and also used to auto balance journal entries and to consolidate across different entities. So this upgrade will give you the flexibility to work within your entities to meet your business needs going forward. As you see, the migration of these companies will come as application scope and will be broken down by the different applications in the subset. Here you will see the target timeframes within those scopes, starting with the migration in 2022 with the R2 release, with the different applications such as general ledger, things like cash management and time expense as well. The phased migration will start with this release that will be included with order entry, purchasing, inventory, and any other non-customizations. And you will also see any future integrations within projects and contracts. Know that a Sage Intacct representative will contact you before embarking on any upgrade within your system and keep you in the loop as the progress upgrades come into fruition. We will set you up with any post-upgrade company to look and feel like your single entity company with you are already accustomed to, and you can work within that system continuously without any error. Do know that Intacct companies that are integrated within Salesforce CRM, integration will need to be upgraded to Salesforce Advanced CRM integration before being upgraded to the multi-entity environment. Now we will go over to the next polling question. Nicole, please.
Thanks, Brent. We've had a couple of these types of questions come in today, and you touched on it a little bit. We help a lot of clients managing AP, AR workflows and processes, some of which are still pretty manual. For your organization, do you have some challenges related to AP or AR workflows? Whether it's still manually entering data, duplicative data entry. Lands in business still sends paper invoices. Do you have challenges with managing paper invoices? Sage Intacct obviously has improved a lot of that functionality with some tools and features that are built into the system, which is great. Coming in about 23% of you frequently still doing some duplicative work, some slow manual processes. Got about 35% of respondents today have some challenges, still some manual steps or redundant work. About 43% are not as frequently challenged by those particular problems now, but obviously we always have room for improvement. Leave the poll up for about 20 more seconds. All right, we'll end the poll now. It looks like the majority of you are taking advantage of some AR and AP workflow automation. That's fantastic. We got about 35%, still some manual steps or redundant work, and 22% we have room for improvement. Thank y'all so much for sharing.
Thank you, Nicole. Looking at some of the questions within that has been asked, and I'll touch on a few. A user asks that if a user sets up a custom rule but leaves the company, does that rule stay in effect? Yes, that rule will stay in effect. It is system-based and not based upon users. So as long as that smart event is in the jobs queue, it can be picked up to be used system-wide as well. Also, regarding multi-entity, those multi-entities are being set up within your single entity, and you can use the multi-entity consolidation and the upgrade at no extra cost to you. If you do want to add certain modules to make use of the multi-entity environment that you'll be adding to your system, that may come at a cost depending on what module you are going to be using within that in your environment. But know that just the single use of going from single entity to a multi-entity will not come at any initial cost to you as well. So that are a few things that you can think about when processing and working within your new entity. Next, we will go into accounts payable. So as you know, accounts payable is one of the most frequently use modules within Sage Intacct. And Sage Intacct has gone by making more upgrades to the accounts payable that will let you better automate and also give you a better user experience within Sage Intacct. AP automation, an add-on feature to accounts payable. This helps streamline your data entry process to save you time and money. The system automatically creates draft bills from your bill documents that you can email and upload into Sage Intacct. This bill detail are automatically populated for you, and using the data from that original bill, the vendor information record and previous bill will be created. A new update will be a enhancement to the vendor payment, and this will be powered by CSI. Vendor payments are now supported to set up additional email addresses for any remittance that is needed. So if a remittance are needed by, say, the AP clerk and the accounting manager, you can now set up where now you can be supported to get additional email addresses out to the individuals that needs to be alerted. One of the great improvements, especially for any implementers or consultants, is the use of the CSV import changes. Now you can have within those imported amounts more than 2 decimal places. Know that those decimal places will now be rounded. Previously, imported transactions amounts exceeding 2 decimal places might be truncated, rounded, or rejected with an error, depending on the transaction type. Now imported amounts for all transaction types are rounded. This is the exception would be for imported journal entries. Amounts for imported journal entries will continue to be rejected when they exceed 2 decimal places. And this has been unchanged from any previous release. So know that this is only for imports, not for journal entry imports. And this is a great thing for, like I said, any implementer importing the vast templates that can be used within Sage Intacct. Also, Sage Intacct has given the security control for summary batches. This has the option to edit summaries. It's now only available for manual summaries. If a summary was generated by the system as an auto summary, it is not available to be edited. This change only impacts automatic summaries generated by Sage Intacct. If your summary frequency in there is equal to a user specified, there will be no change. You can just check the summary frequency setting on the application configuration page. Also updated is you can save time by applying credits to bills. You can restrict available credit to a date range using the no pay bills feature. You can now use an on-the-fly filter in the pay bills list, and this will restrict available credits to a certain date range. When you filter by that credit range along with the due date, you can view a list of bills that includes only the available credits created during that corresponding time frame. For example, say if you're paying bills for January and only want to apply credits that has that transaction date in the same month. Previously, you would have to filter that bill by due date. You had to evaluate each bill when available credits are due individually. This meant drilling down to the line details and then to the credit details. And then you would have to note that transaction date for the credit and selectively apply that credit based on that information. Now you're able to filter using that same date range for that due date. and credits. And you can now select that bill, click apply credits, and you will be done with that. One of the other aspects that is greatly used within Sage Intacct is accounts receivable. Within accounts receivable, you can see that the added feature is for any new payment object for reporting, we've added a new accounts receivable payment object so you can run a centralized and a detailed report for all your AR payments and transactions. Previously, when you built a report from the AR payments module, you had to create a separate report for each payment object. Now you can just select AR receivable payments detail as your custom report data, and all relevant payments detail will come through regardless of whether the payment started as an adjustment, an advance, a posted payment, or an overpayment. Also note that just like the changes and update made to accounts payable, within accounts receivable, there has also been a CSV import change, and that also includes any imports that are more than 2 decimal places are now rounded up. You can now, just like AP, do any of your transactions, imports, and save the headache on having to round those up before you import into the system. And no, just like the accounts payable feature, this is not for any journal entries, just imports within the system. Another thing that was updated within Sage accounts receivable module is the security control for summary batches. To reduce the potential discrepancies within any transactional data, the option to edit summaries and payment summaries is now only available for manual summaries. This change only impacts automatic summaries generated by Intacct. If your summary frequency equals your users specified, there is no change. You can just check the summary frequency in that setting on the accounts receivable configuration. Now we will go next to our next polling question. So Nicole, if you can give us that next polling question.
Sure, Brent. So with the increase of remote work has increased, since the COVID-19 pandemic and everyone working remotely, it's really increased the need for businesses to support their teams with collaboration tools that enable work anywhere at any time, like Microsoft Teams or WebEx, variety of solutions. Does your organization utilize any cloud-based collaboration tools? Sage Intacct recently announced additional integrations available within the Microsoft platform. It'd be exciting for a lot of users to be able to access their tools anywhere at any time. Certainly with things like this, webinars, being able to host on your phone or attend on your phone. Looks like the majority of our attendees today are using a unified communication, a UC tool like Microsoft Teams, or something that connects their team members together, no matter where they're located. Some, about 4% have some, maybe using a VoIP, soft phone, something like that. About 9% of our attendees using standard phones and email to keep up with communication. Leave the poll open for about 20 more seconds for anybody who needs to get an answer in. All right, wrapping up the poll now. Looks like we got about 10% that are using standard phone and email, 4% that are maybe using a couple of tools, about 86% using a collaboration platform to connect their teams. That's great to hear. Thank you all for sharing.
Thank you, Nicole. Answering some of the other questions that are within our chat. One of the questions are, how many custom fields can you have per object? So within Sage Intacct, excuse me, you can have up to 25 fields per object. So that gives you a great quantity of different smart rules that you can put towards a certain object. So objects like AP bills, invoices, your different cash management tools, you can use these smart events and custom fields to give more in-depth action to any of these objects within Sage Intacct. Another question was, do smart rules and smart events apply to all entities? Smart events and smart rules will be applicable to all entities. You can also use smart rules within different entities. If you want a smart rule to work within one entity, that you want those reporting and those objects to be used for just that entity, you can set up smart rules to embark on that as well. All you can be restricted by is your imagination. Smart rules are a type of code that can be written. So the more applicable and the more comfortable you get with creating your smart rules, it opens up a whole new world on different things that you can use within Sage Intacct. So that is a great thing to be utilized within Sage Intacct for a gamut of things. Like I said, the only thing that is stopping you from using these different types is the imagination. As you know, within any accounting, in any finance industry, just knowing that you can do these type of things will be beneficial to you as you go along after this presentation into your day-to-day business. And you'll be able to gauge, hopefully by some of this information that I've given you today, on different aspects that you can use in your day-to-day business to make your transactions and anything that you do within Sage Intacct more efficient. Okay. So the next thing that we want to talk about within Sage Intacct is the update for cash management. Within cash management, you are able to now connect to a French bank account to a bank feed. You use the service provider as expected in here to connect your French account within your cash management module. Also updated is the creation of rules in VAT and GST. You can use transaction templates to capture that VAT or GST in transactions created for reconciliation. For companies that use VAT or GST enabled, you can now automatically include tax on any journal entries or any credit card transactions that were created using a creation rule. Just know to calculate and record VAT or GST on created transactions, just use a transaction template and select an existing tax schedule. Then add that transaction template to that creation rule. And once you add that rule to that creation set, you will be able to then apply that to any account within Sage Intacct under your cash management. Know that this feature is only for inclusive taxes. So make sure that that is applicable to you for that tax option before embarking on that feature. One of the next modules that Sage Intacct has updated and added new features are for construction. You know that there are many construction companies that are now using Sage Intacct as their ERP system. So these features are a great addition to Sage Intacct. Post-construction was added for contract entries to the GL budget on the construction project contract line. You can now create, associate, and post-construction project contract prices entries to the GL ledger budget. After associating that budget with the project contract, you can include the GL budget entries on your financial reports. Now on the construction project contract, you can now post the selected GL budget by the workflow type used on that budget contract, and you can change any request entries as needed. Budgeted entries that post to the GL budget account can then be selected on the project contract line. Also added is the bill construction retainage on the project contract invoice. Now you can view invoices, retainage releases, and payments for product contracts, as well as project contract lines directly from the contract billing detail tab. The tab shows a summary of billing as usual, and also will give you individual posted invoices generated from this project contract, along with more information about each invoice. The use of this invoice link can be opened and examined at the invoice for billing detail tab. Also added, which is a great addition, is the use of Sage Intacct Construction Payroll. You can use construction payroll functionality to automate and simplify payroll tasks associated with your construction projects. Some of the payroll uses are, you can now use this to help with the state payroll needed in relation to any union or non-union organization. You can simplify the rate determination across multiple unions, projects, locations, and project types. Also, you can handle self-performed trade payrolls. Also, you can automate complex payroll calculations and also journal entry creations. And also you're able to simplify any certified payroll reporting in all US states and territories. Also added to the construction is now the use of Sage Field Operation. The Sage Field Operation mobile app is a great addition to the Sage Intacct construction module. And it's an app that provides the team in the field with the critical information that is needed, and it will sync seamlessly with Sage Intacct construction. With the Sage Intacct field operations, your team in the field can now complete tasks like using multi-factor authorizations and setting up a PIN. You can also now view work orders and assignments, and you can also edit those assignments, activities while you're in the field as well. You can also go by entering new work order assignments. You can complete work order assignment punctuation actions. You can also upload any work order attachments. You can refresh your work order information, and you can enter work order labor as well. Sage Intacct Field Operations also lets you have certain reporting capabilities. that will include the use of any user-defined dimension to track your work order detail. And you can also do that to relate any purchase orders, invoices, inventory transfers, and any general ledger entries. Know that also within this Sage Intacct mobile app, it can also be used offline. We know that a lot of construction operations are done in remote places in the United States. So the use of using and being able to use this mobile app offline and to store your information to be used when you're able to get back within those parameters to use back online within Sage is a great thing that can be used within the Sage Intacct module field. So know that anywhere in the United States and anywhere that this construction app is being made, it will be a useful function for you as well. As you can see within this example, you have your assignments. So you have your miscellaneous assignments. You have where you can put your time and miscellaneous expenses to, as in your holiday PTO. You also have your project date and also a schedule that you can update between your work orders as well. Now going over to our contracts. Here, the added feature is a billing schedule preview. This model now allows you to continue to change any contract line data and then view the preview billing schedule for each change. When you are happy with your billing schedule, you can now go ahead and save that contract line to that billing schedule as well. One of the other mostly used factor and modules within Sage Intacct and within any ERP system is the use of your general ledger. Now, your general ledger is really the heartbeat of any financial and any ERP within any business acumen that can be used. And Sage Intacct is continuously upgrading all aspects of that general ledger to give you a better view of your financials. The added feature for this release is now you can choose how the trial balance is reported, and it can show opening and closing balances. We've added a new checkbox that lets you choose to show opening and closing balances as a debit or credit combined, or as a debit and credit separately. As you can see, you will find this trial balance report under General Ledger, the All tab under Reports and Trial Balance. You will see a new Show Opening and Closing Balances as Credit or Debit checkbox that will let you choose how to show those opening and closing balances. And as you can see below, the differences of the two, as in combining your opening balances, credit and debits into one factor, or to separate out your opening balances, debits, and credits as a separate feature to be viewed. And so this is a great addition to let you tailor your general ledger reports to how you would like that to be reflected in your business. Another thing that has been introduced is the fulfillment of sales in your inventory control. And this fulfillment is under the early adopter program in 2022 release 2, and it will continue to be available under that early adopters within this release. This fulfillment gives warehouse managers and workers the tools to track ship sales orders in a timely fashion to keep your customer and users happy. It also provides pick and pack lists, which makes the job of the pickers and the packers of the warehouse floor more efficient and less costly. So now you see where your order entry is moved throughout the sales process, and this is applicable to your operation. Now you have the option of inventory control that shows where you go from your pick to your packing, any shipments, and any invoices. And that can be converted based on ship orders and invoice orders. You have your available actions that will allow you to gauge where in the process your inventory are held within. So you have where you can go from opening to ready to be picked. Once that item is picked, you can have it be set up to be ready for pack. And once that package is packed correctly to your business, you can have that be available to be shipped. And then once it's shipped, you can have that be ready to be read to be invoiced. So this gives a lot of manufacturing firms the inventory control to gauge where in that fulfillment process their products are for their customers to be sent out. Also, one of the great things within Sage Intacct is lease accounting. We've known that in these past years, there has been many gap instances where lease accounting has been affected. And Sage Intacct has tried its best and has created upgrades to best capture those upgrades and new restrictions within your lease accounting. We launched the lease accounting under the early adopter program in the 2022 release 4, and it continues to be available under the early adopter program within this release. Know that Sage Release Accounting is a new application. It allows the lessees to manage their financial and operating leases to comply with the latest US GAAP and also IFRS standards. The latest accounting standards require businesses to raise opposing lease liabilities and the right of use assets on their balance sheet. This liability unwinding and this asset amortization requires complex computations, and Sage Intacct will allow your management to make careful management decisions over this time. This option dealing with these leases, we know can be a very cumbersome thing to maintain on your spreadsheet. So lease accounting will allow you to be more streamlined and will help to automate the process to ensure that any compliance that you may need is met. Also, it will help to improve any accuracy and just gives you a better insight into those lease obligations. Also know within this lease accounting application, if you would like to give this a try, you can reach out to your Sage Intacct representative, and I'm sure they were happy to be able to give you a demo on how this lease will be able to be used within your system. Also, with the use of Sage Intacct updated features is Sage Intacct Mateo. And say in the Sage Intacct 2020 release period 3, Sage Intacct introduced this new module, Mateo. Mateo is a modern and also a cloud-based application that provides dioceses and religious organizations the solutions that they need to support their savings and loan programs. And this can be applicable for their different parishes and schools. You can now close a savings account and distribute that account balance in debt. You now have the choice of withdrawing the balance and transferring the balance to a new account. Sage Intacct has also improved the process for closing your savings periods and correcting transactions from your closed savings and loans account periods as well. This flexibility when closing the savings period is no longer necessary to close your prior account period. You can just start with the current period in. Also within Sage Intacct is your new data import within Mateo. We have gone by and expanded the list of data types that you can import, and we also added options for posting that data. Some of the data that can now be imported in the new options can be things as your savings accounts, savings opening balances, savings transfers, customers, any loan accounts that you may have. Included is your loan opening balances, any loan adjustments, and loan payoffs. Note that when you're importing this data, you can now specify whether it will post to both Sage Intacct and Sage Intacct Mateo, or just Sage Intacct Mateo only. So this is a great feature. We all know working within Sage Intacct, imports can save a gamut of time in our already busy environments. So whenever you can have something be imported instead of doing it manually, this is a great additional feature within Sage Intacct as well. We all know that order entry is also a feature that is of big use within Sage Intacct. One of the added features that we have is to be able to specify the location and departments in the subtotal at the top level. For any companies that have upgraded from being a single entity company to a multi-entity company, enabling a new configure option will let you see these dimensions in the subtotal. These can be used within this new capability. You can transact at the top level with the same flexibility that you had at your entity level. When you enable this editing of location and department dimension at the top level, two things would change. You have your transaction definition, your department and location field will now appear in your subtotals. If you want to specify a value for either or both fields in any of the subtotal lines, the transactions that you create using this transaction definitions are now populated with these values. And also within the department location and field, it will appear in the subtotal subsection for that transaction that you have also created at your top level. That transaction will inherit any department or location value that are set in the transaction definition. If you have the appropriate permissions, you can select and override that dimension or location dimension, department dimension for any of those subtotal lines. Going off of that, we know that dealing with any multi-entity and coming from any single entity company, the use of multi-entities and also dimensions and locations lets you get a more detailed view of your transactions as well. One of the updates that we also have is the fulfillment for sales orders management. You can have the continuing offer of your fulfillment, whether that be pick, pack, ship, or invoice. And this is also an early adopter program. You can also commit quantities during your order entry. We will be continuing to offer the ability to dedicate quantities for a specific order. And this is also a use in that earlier adopter program. If you want to become were part of this earlier adopter program, please feel free to reach out to your representative and they may be able to help you if any of these modules are applicable to your business as well. Okay. Next, we will go into our final polling question. Nicole, here is your next polling for this presentation.
All right, thanks, Brent. So this will be our last polling question of today's webinar. We've been covering automation, smart events within Sage Intacct. Are you leveraging any other types of automation with other applications? We've kind of covered some AR/AP before, looking for some workflow processes. I think the addition of intelligent automation to our business processes today is definitely much more relevant than it was in years past, as we all are trying to do a lot more with less and work smarter and more efficiently. We'll leave that poll question up for just about 30 more seconds. I will answer a question that has come through the Q&A, and that is, if we'll be sharing the slides and the recording from today's webinar. We will. Following the webinar, you'll be getting a copy of the slides and the release notes that Brent is going over, as well as a link to the recording of the webinar. If you do qualify for CPE after today's event, that will be a separate email that you'll receive that'll include your CPE credit information and your certificate. We'll provide contact information if you have any questions about that. All right, just about wrapped on this poll. Give you about another 10 seconds. All right, great. So for almost half of you, Sage Intacct is your first step into leveraging automation in some of these business critical applications. Got about 40% using Sage Intacct Smart Rules, Smart Events, and maybe some other things. And then 16% are frequent users of intelligent automation. I think as our publishers and software tools and business applications evolve, we'll be seeing the opportunity to leverage automation in many more aspects of our business. Automation just allows us to work a little bit smarter, a little bit more efficiently with what we have. You know, we're appreciating the automation features that we use within Sage Intacct and some of our other applications. Thank y'all for sharing.
Thank you, Nicole. One of the questions that we had was for the lease accounting, can you get set up and try it out? If you reach out to your Sage Intacct representative, I'm sure they will set up a demo for you, and you will also be able to see how this will work with your parameters. You might be using another application currently as Lease Query for this functionality. So as you reach out to your representative, let them know that you may be interested in this module. I know that we are always excited to help our Sage Intacct customers gauge on anything that we can do to help them better utilize Sage Intacct in any modules that are within Sage Intacct. So I'm sure you'll have your point person that help you get up and going with Sage Intacct. And also, I know that we're keeping in constant communication to meet any needs that you may have. So if any module you would like to use before getting that module, just feel free to reach out to your representative, and I'm sure we will be happy to help you gauge and to try out and give you an overview on how that module will help your business needs. One of the next modules that were updated in Sage Intacct is both project and grants. And you can see that what's been added is the state of project billable lines. You can now see your payment status and your approval status before creating any transaction on that project invoice. This new column in the preview will allow you to show any transaction that has been paid or approved. For example, you will now be able to see the payment state for employee expenses and any account payables bills before you generate a project invoice for those transactions. Within that preview of those project invoices, you can go to your projects module under the All tab within the invoices, generate invoices in preview. And this will show you your payment and approval status for any of your source transactions. Please do know that any business or admin user types can generate this project invoice. Know that project managers can also generate draft project invoices from this pre-bill report. One of the new upgrades to project and grants, this idea came from you, so from the end users. You are now able to expand the project manager's permissions. You are now able to assign the order entry permissions to your project manager user, so they can now add, edit, or delete any order entry transactions. So now you can assign that order entry permissions to your manager to do that as well. So this is just giving you an idea of any updates to Sage Intacct that you may think will be useful for you in your business environment. Just feel free to give us that idea within the Sage community, and we will look at that option and we'll work and do our best to upgrade and update any fields for you to better utilize Sage Intacct for your business needs. One of the main things within purchasing is the added feature that now you can specify your location and department at the top level. For companies that have upgraded to the single entity company to the multi-entity company, enabling this configuration lets you get a better set of dimensions in your subtotals. Within these subtotals, you will be able to get a subtotal table based on your department and location field, and also will let you give you detailed transactions that are made at that top level. That transaction will inherit any department or any location values that are set, and it will give you your transaction subtotals based on those dimensions. Please just make sure that you have your appropriate permissions. Do know that when any module is added to your environment, one of the first things that you should do, and it is good business practice, is just to go in under your permissions in that module and make sure that you have all the permissions that are needed for your business, and make sure that you have that set before using that module. One of the enhancements that we have, and that is coming from our reporting advanced, is the construction reporting areas in our CRW. CRW now offers a new construction payroll reporting area, and this is to enhance any managing or tracking direct or indirect labor costs for your projects. You can do things as create the following reports: payroll report check summary. This reporting area will track employee check details such as salary or any hourly wage, and whether of any overtime multiplier that applies to that employee. It then calculates the appropriate state and federal reporting taxes as well. You also will have the use of the report for your payroll report time card summary. And this report area tracks any overtime, any travel, and any vacation time for individual employees. It then will apply the appropriate cost for each time category on a per project basis. One of the new permissions that our reports are added, we have added 2 new reports to simplify your tracking and managing of user permissions. We have now a permission report for all users and also a permission change audit for audit trail report as well. The new permission reports for all users makes it easier for admin to track and manage permissions for all direct users. This capability will simplify complying and regulatory requirements. This report only tracks permissions for direct users. Council and external users are not included within this report. The new user permission activity report is an audit trail report that enables you to view and track any changes to your user permissions. This report will display both user and role permissions for assessing any financial data. The user permissions activity reports will also do things like track additions, deletions, modifications to user permissions, and also track any user information. Also within Sage Intacct Advanced CRM, you will notice a more sync option for project and task. Project and task can now be synced bidirectionally, and the audit trail will now come to the Intacct Advanced CRM. For your project and task sync updates, now you can manage both project and task from inside Salesforce. The field on the project record will now sync bidirectionally for you. Also, you will have an audit trail for your advanced CRM. We have added this audit trail capability to your CRM configuration page in Intacct, and know that this audit trail now will track when you enable or disable synchronization, as well as your source to select that synchronized direction. Do know that audit trails does not track changes made to the field mapping at this time. One of the other noted updates are in taxes. So any business that are have any business within South Africa, you can now electronically file for your South African taxes. You will submit your VAT tax manually or electronically for your South African multi-tax entity with our new electronic filing workflow. Know that this will include your Sage regulatory reporting autofills parts of your VAT 201, and it will also provide you electronic submissions directly to SARS, which is the South African Revenue Service. One of the things that we are definitely excited about is the new Sage Intacct University. This is exciting news for any Sage Intacct user, both new and also any user that has been using Sage Intacct for a myriad of years. All Sage Intacct training courses are now part of Sage University. Sage University will still provide the same great learning resources that you're used to, but now it will have a more guided role-based path focused on your success. You may ask, why do we make any of these changes? Now you will have one location to access training on Sage projects for everybody. You will also be able to access all of your training and transcript history. Also, you will have the self-service access to whatever certificates or any course evaluations that you have given. Now you will also have access to both your learning membership and complimentary learning. So if you had a learning membership, you can now use that to use the Sage University within Sage Intacct training. If you have any questions on any of those Sage Intacct trainings, just feel free to reach out to your Sage Intacct representative, and they will get you on the right track to using the training to guide you in your use of the Sage University. As you can see, Sage Intacct has done a great job within this release of upgrading a lot of the modules that are frequently used by our clients. If you have any questions on any of these modules, any of these updates, you can go into your home screen of your environment, and you can view any of these modules for this RM release for 2023. Also, you are able to look at any of the releases in the prior years and see if there was any upgrades that were applicable to your business needs going forward and currently. And also know that if you see anything within Sage Intacct that you may want to have upgraded, or any other features that you would like to be included within Sage Intacct, feel free to contact and make a suggestion in the community. And this community can also be voted on for new aspects that can be included in a future release. So Sage Intacct is always looking to hear its clients and make any adjustments or add any features or updates for your clients, for our clients as well. I thank you for that. And now Nicole will go in with any questions or that you may have.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Brent. And thank everybody for your questions and dropping them in the Q&A section. We do have several that I'd like to try to get through at the end of our presentation today. So the first question is, will we have any ongoing training or upcoming training for interactive custom report writer? As we're putting together trainings for the next several releases, we are taking suggestions for additional topics you'd like training on, such as interactive custom report writer, dashboards, or any other functionalities. So in the survey, you'll have the option to suggest some of those topics, but Sage University also has quite a bit of material that covers interactive custom report writer, and that would be included with your Sage, with your university subscription. We have another question that follows that. Is Sage University included with my subscription? So Brent, do you want to tell us about Sage Intacct University cost structure, and is it included with the subscription?
Yes, there are aspects to Sage which will have a cost. You should reach out to your sales representative, and they can guide you on what was included in your statement of work, so you can use those features as well. And also Sage Intacct does have some free features that you can use as well within Sage University. So feel free to reach out and see what is also included. Sage Intacct University has a gamut of different information that helps you within all modules that Sage Intacct includes within your environment. So it would be good to get a feeling of what is included within Sage Intacct, and it will give you a better idea of how all modules can be used within your environment. But do know that there are a few free modules that can also be accessed within Sage Intacct as well.
All right, that's great. If you have any questions about that specifically, you can reach out to your strategic account manager, and they'll be able to help you with that. I do know that Sage Intacct is running a special on the Sage Learning membership through March 31st. It's 50% off the regular list price. So if ongoing additional training, if some new employee training and access to those resources, I know we have a lot of novice users on here, is something you'd be interested in, please connect with your strategic account manager here at LBMC, and they'll be happy to shepherd you through that process of what going through the university training is like. Another question that we have is, can you add multiple email addresses for a SMART event that the action is to send an email?
Yes, you can.
That we have.
Yes, you can. You can add multiple emails to create it. Also, you can set up different SMART rules for different emails to be sent out to any different employee within the system. So you can really tailor that to be sent out to whatever information that you will need for that invoice, for that SMART rule or SMART event using that email factor.
Okay, that's great. For inventory control, I think this is when we were talking about the pack, pick, and ship new updates in our R1 release. For the inventory control, does this integrate with the hand scanners for further automation, the hand scanners that Sage Intacct offers?
For hand scanners, you have to contact your account representative to see if that will be used for your module and for your environment. There are certain permissions that will be needed for that. So if it's a use for you going forward, please just feel free to contact your Sage Intacct representative to see if they can combine those for you as well.
Okay. And we did have a question about demoing the API small event. I think any sorts that we're happy to arrange time to talk offline. We have a library of videos that we can also provide as far as a demo goes. So we can follow up with you about that offline. We could do a demo here today. We covered the training sessions and our previous questions about external integrations. We have one last question. When started using Intacct, we set up custom fields in AP and cash management, expecting them to flow through to GL reports. We found out this was not the option. Has that changed?
Yes, what you will need to do is make sure that your dimension structure is set up correctly, and also that your hierarchy is tailored to that construction within Sage Intacct. So feel free to reach out, and we can see if we can either add that to your already built financial reporting, or if we can customize any financial reporting that you will need to include that API as well.
Right, that's great. Okay, just have a couple more minutes here if anyone has any additional questions that they would like to ask about. While I wrap this up, something that you mentioned was looking at workflows and processes. If it has been a while since you've evaluated some of your AP and AR processes, or you've added functionality and dimensions, we always recommend going through what's called a business process review. Whenever we're adding and expanding with multiple clients, they often, take a look at what their processes and procedures look like, and are there any ways that we can streamline or find some additional efficiencies. So if you've been using your solution or your processes for a while, we typically recommend every 2 or 3 years, you just take a holistic view. And so we can help you out with a business process review if you feel like there might be some additional functionality or additional efficiencies that you're just not realizing. All right, well, we covered a lot of information today. If you have any additional questions following this event or after reviewing the recording, please feel free to reach out to your strategic account manager. You can also reach out to us at info@lbmctech.com or communications@lbmctech.com. Future invitations will be coming from these email addresses, so please make sure we're added to your safe senders list. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we do have a post-event survey, and we're offering a raffle for a Solo Stove Mesa tabletop fire pit for one survey respondent. So please make sure you get those surveys turned in. You'll be receiving an email following this that includes the slide deck, the recording, and a link to the survey. If you qualify for CPE, you'll receive a separate email that includes those credentials as well as your certificate information. You should be receiving that within the next 7 to 10 business days. If you don't, please reach out to us at info@lbmctech.com and we'll be happy to look into it for you. Thanks again for attending today's webinar. Hope you all found it valuable and will be excited to sign up for the next one. We'll see you again at the next quarter. Thank you all.
Thank you.